Hello out there. Welcome, everybody. Hello. I'm not seeing my time in the corner, so I'm not sure if I'm on right this second. I think I am now. Welcome, everybody. Oh, there we go. There's the time. I was wondering if we were coming on yet. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream here from AutoCrit. If you're not familiar with AutoCrit, we are a home for writers. We help you plan and edit and work on your book in all different kinds of ways. We have our fully functional writing desk. We have our online academy page. We have an online community. Just something for everybody. It is our goal to make you the best writer that you can be. Now, today I have Kevin on board. Let me add him in here. Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Hello,
From
Daniel.
the yes, and he is going to show us around the writer's desk, and particularly a brand new tool that we have introduced that is super exciting, called the Story Analyzer. And this is going to allow you to get, just like our name, an auto crit of your story. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and just launch right into that, and we can go looking around and we can see all of the wonderful features there, Kevin.
Sure, let me go ahead and share my screen. Hello, everybody, by the way. I'm Kevin.
While he's doing that, I do want to give a shout out to Wendy, who got a 50-page request from an agent. That is awesome. She's been an AutoCrit member for quite some time, and that's what we love to see. As much as we love to just see everybody writing in general, it's always great when the work gets out there, people respond, and all of that. That's what it's all about. So, what do we got here, Kevin?
Hey, well, of course, we're always excited, but I'm really excited today to show a new
Take that.
feature that we have because this has been a long time in coming for us, a lot of work behind the scenes. So we're really excited to show off the new story analyzer. Like Daniel mentioned, we have a lot of other elements of AutoCrit, but today we're going to focus on the new feature that we brought on board to kind of enhance what we already have, which we might jump into later. But for now, let's just focus straight on the story analyzer. First off, I've dropped into AutoCrit. This is the AutoCrit Writer's Desk. I brought in a personal favorite of mine. This would be Treasure Island by
Nice.
Robert Louis Stevenson. So
Classic.
it's not just about fast food. It's actually a person. So just for you young, you young people out there. Okay. The story analyzer. So the reason why I brought in Treasure Island, clearly, it's a classic. It's out there. Everybody probably knows about it to some degree or another. But it is copyright. The copyright's expired on it, so I'm happy to show it to everybody. So there's no issues with privacy or anything like that. So that's one of the main reasons why. And it's also fun to look at some of the classics that we all know and love. So without
Absolutely.
further, without further ado, I'm going to click on Story Analyzer. So first off, before I do that, I have 68,000 words here. So this is the full document with
Dun,
all the
dun, dun.
chapters. And chapters are important to us here at AutoCrit. So after we brought it in, we found the chapters. And we don't need to go into that too much detail, but you can use this as navigation where you see all the text is an AutoCrit, whether you typed it or copied and pasted it or uploaded it, whatever, however you got the text in, you can do that at your leisure. So once the text is in, the story analyzer is all about seeing what is it that you've written. Tell us information about it, the characters, the world building. So let's go ahead and click on Story Analyzer, and you'll see that over here the same number of chapters with the word counts for each one. So let's start here at chapter 1. I'm going to have the system give me a synopsis of the first chapter. So right now our system is actually reading the text, and it's going to provide this brief synopsis of what goes on in the first chapter. So, the old sea dog at the Admiral Benbow, Dr. Livesey. So it's gone through and pulled out characters and actions and things that occurred and gave me a brief summary of what happened in chapter 1. So now if I want to look at, let's see, what kind of conflicts are present in this first chapter. So once again, it's going to read it. It's going to list out, okay, these are the conflicts. The captain refuses to pay for his stay at the inn. Interesting, right? So this is what you've written. And so it kind of gives you brief, quick feedback of what the system pulled out. And as Daniel and I have talked this many times as we were ironing out this system, about sometimes it's just as important as what shows up here as what doesn't show up here. If some conflict that you thought should have happened in chapter 1 doesn't appear, well, then we didn't recognize it. So maybe there's a problem there with what you've
Mm-hmm.
written, that maybe I should have emphasized this more, or made it more apparent that this was actually something that's going on, versus maybe it was
Yeah.
too subtle. Didn't
This is the
pop through.
same thing you would get with an actual critic too. I mean, this is an AutoCritic, right? Of a beta reader, right? If you give it to a beta reader and you're like, read this chapter, what'd you get out of it? And they don't mention some big thing that you wanted to be the center of it, well, obviously you missed the mark as well. So it's very similar.
Yes. And just from a tracking perspective, here we go. We got, click on it, it'll list all the characters. It'll tell you who the narrator is, all this kind of stuff. These are all everybody that you thought was in this chapter, right? And maybe you misidentified it. Maybe maybe it didn't. Who knows? Maybe you have a character missing. Maybe your protagonist is missing for a few chapters, and like, oh shoot, maybe I should, that rule of thumb, like every other chapter should have either your protagonist or your antagonist or something like that. But you don't want to lose track of the main flow of your plot, which is generally driven by your main characters. So
yeah, this is awesome. Yes. Trouble finding appropriate bait. That's the thing. And honestly, too, it's beyond that, right? Often we would love to get that feedback, that instant feedback as we're working, and we don't want to put our work out there, right? But yet it's like, it's not good enough to put out there, but it's like put out there, you don't know what to improve, right? So this is a great for that middle ground, right? Where you get that initial feedback. And what Kevin's saying, it's going to pick up on the things that perhaps you intended to include and you didn't. And then you can fix all of that before, you're bringing it out to a wider audience.
Yes. And this is what I always love too, the world building, especially if you're talking about a fantasy or something like these things where you have a pretty complex world and you have different resources that might not be familiar to your audience, where you might need to mention things. But I always love it, like they have rum, eggs, and bacon as the resources available in this first chapter. But you get the idea. It's just going through and it's pulling out what kind of world building did you provide. These are the the resources available and things like that. So sometimes it's not only, I think it's just fun, right? Maybe if you're burnt out or you've written a lot, and you might want to just pop it in here and get another, like, what did I write? Just get it from an outside, like a third person point of view. Like when you're kind of maybe reinvigorate you in your creative juices. Like, what? That's amazing, or I should have emphasized that, or that's really funny. Maybe I should emphasize the fact that you can drink, rum and have bacon at the same time. Maybe something will come up to look at your story in a different light or a different angle than perhaps you were thinking of it, because you're so ingrained in it. So this is kind of like that independent, eye that's super helpful and fun too. That's the whole point, right? We're not doing this
Yeah, and really, I can tell you, one of the reasons why we developed the story analyzer in the first place, we've been doing this for a while, doing AutoCrit and utilizing technology where it's become available. And we've always struggled with the developmental edit step, because we would have all of these great tools when we get to the line editing level. But when it comes to developmental editing level, it was a lot of, well, this is how you need to do things, and this is the steps. And it was a lot of you having to learn it yourself, right? And I know Sharon was talking about an alpha reader. Yeah, alpha readers are really helpful, because they're the ones that are coming in and they're giving you that, okay, what do you even have, right? Like a lot of us are not outliners. We're pantsers. We're just going with an idea and we're just flying, and that's great. But then we get to the end and we're like, okay, how do I carve this out, right? How do I even know what's here? And so being able to see clearly, this is what I got, it's incredibly helpful.
Yes. Even like as Daniel mentioned, something as simple as a timeline analysis. Especially in these earlier phases of your writing, if you just get a simple list of this happens and this, if like Daniel mentioned, if you were a pantser, you clearly didn't outline this. You were just writing at flow of thought type thing, and now you come back and realize that, oh boy, this not in the right order. This shouldn't have happened here, or that should have happened first, or it kind of helps you not be so, I don't know, spastic sometimes if you can keep track of your timeline. Maybe you want to, maybe you don't. And that's the other beauty thing. We don't force you to use this tool. This is completely optional, like everything else in AutoCrit. We're not trying to make you do something you don't want to do. This is purely for fun and for as a resource for you as an assistant, if you so choose to use it. So it's always great to think of it in that sense.
And just like a beta reader, this is advice. This is going to, give you I mean, at first we're going to get actually more to the advice in a bit, but right now, it's
Mhm.
giving us those lists. Something like the foreshadowing events, it's going to get a little bit into opinion, right? Because it's going to have to guess. It doesn't know where your story is going at this point. It's only analyzed the first chapter, right? So it's going to have
Yep.
to guess based on your word choice what it assumes is a promise to the reader. Now this is the same thing that readers would do as well, right? They're going to be like, oh, there's a looming cloud on the horizon, perhaps that means a storm, right?
Yep.
And it's helpful to know what you could say promises that you've made to the readers. Maybe you're deliberately misdirecting them, but it's helpful to know, what somebody would think, right? And again,
Yep.
this is able to do that automatically for you, which is wonderful.
Sure. And like, so for example, some of these are pretty obvious. Like the mention of treasure. Well, that's kind of foreshadowing the fact they're going to look for treasure at some point. The book is named Treasure Island, so it's not like, okay, thanks for telling me it's what I already know. But some of the other interesting pieces that you kind of dive in, nuggets like maybe the captain's menacing behavior, including his violent outburst. Some of these things are foreshadowing to a reader that this person there's going to be some conflict. There's going to be some maybe fistfights. There's some anger. There's some angst. And if you didn't mean for that to happen, you didn't want to foreshadow that, then maybe you need to take a look at how you wrote that character's scene, because it came across to the system that this person is going to be aggressive and physical at some point. And maybe it's a love story like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have had it yell after, at her husband because they were out of milk or something. That maybe some of the word choice and the emphasis on certain actions and were foreshadowing something that you didn't want to foreshadow. So these are the kind of ways you can help yourself in you understanding what is it that I wrote down, and how is it being perceived by a pseudo reader. In this case, this is an auto reader, and how it was being picked up. So it's super helpful in that regard. Let me run a couple more through here. As you see, we kind of tried to pick out a lot of different elements that are of interest and that can be helpful during the editing phase and understanding what you wrote. And like, we're looking at plot threads, we're looking at foreshadowing events, and these are the kind of elements that can be super helpful to you as you understand what you have. And finally, here for that chapter, we want to analyze what genre is being picked up. In this case, it's being picked up as adventure fiction. This is very helpful. And, it's one of those things where we're kicking around, but as we ran different books, and different our own work and things like that through as we were testing this, we were kind of fascinated that some chapters do fall in and out of genre, and this system picks up on it. And of course, sometimes by design, clearly you might have a romantic scene, or you might have a huge car chase scene, action adventure. It doesn't have to always be exactly the same over and over again, but clearly you want to be careful when you slip out of what's typically understood as being your genre expectation for too long. You don't want to change face or change your mask of the identity of the book, and then all of a sudden have to switch back and like, well, that didn't really quite feel right. I think clearly one of the classics is something like Moby Dick, where they go into a nonfiction narrative about whales or something right in the middle of it, right? Then they switch back to more adventure and whatnot. So there's always these different shifting, and that's kind of jarring to the reader, as their expectation was a certain genre that they were getting themselves into. And if you switch genres, it's kind of it's jarring to them. It's not necessarily a good thing, unless of course that was by design. Okay, so as I went through this one, I went the first chapter one at a time to get a little bit more detailed results. You can also, and clearly, if you have, in this case, I think it's 38 chapters or 34 chapters maybe, you can run a whole chapter at a time. Now, this will give you a little bit of a quicker response, not necessarily as quite the depth as you got before. So you can just run it again if you want to see something a little bit more detailed. You can click that again. Or, as always with everything on AutoCrit, you can click up here and clear that out of the way. That's all. I'll run the whole thing.
Just
And
Ella, if you want to get to the story analyzer, hit the summary tab, and that's where it is.
Mhm.
Actually, no, it's analysis. Sorry, analysis button, and then you're going to find story analyzer at the top of your screen.
Yes. So anyway, you could run everything at once, or run one synopsis at a time. And what I've done, I've gone through and hit all the chapters in this book, because I don't want to sit here and press a button for 30 minutes with you folks, although I do like you all. It might not be the best use of your time. So anyway, you've gone through. It takes a little bit of time, but that's okay, right? It's supposed to take time. It makes you're thinking about this. This isn't something that is instant. Something in instant gratification might not be the best case here, because this is kind of a thoughtful thoughtful process writing and understanding how these stories weave together. So that's kind of what we designed it to kind of sit down, analyze it, look at it. And the very neat thing you can do here is once you've got, in this case, I think, like I said, 30 some odd chapters together, you can just have it show one element. So let's say I want to just look at the synopses of each one, right? So then you can kind of, every single chapter, we just show that field. Or, you know, I'm concerned where my characters are at. So I can see each chapter's characters are isolated. So you can just, you know, this chapter on John Silver, and then Long John Silver, and then Jim Hawkins. So you can see just one element of your work, right? And if you close and you're typing along and you want to rewrite chapter 20 or whatever, no worries. It's always saved with your file inside of AutoCrit. So you can come back and, you know what, I rewrote chapter 2 of characters. Let me go ahead and hit that here. And you can just reanalyze a section. And you don't lose everything else, right? So you can just, whatever you worked on or did, if you're only working on chapter 20, you don't worry. You don't have to, every time you type something, you have to go through and run the whole book again. No, you just run that section, that chapter, or that element that you're looking for. And this will live inside your document with you and always be there as a reference. I think I've heard the term, like, what is it, Daniel, like a story Bible or something like that? Well, it's kind of akin to that to a certain extent.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
keeping track
Absolutely.
of all
And
your...
are the results downloadable or printable? Yes, you can export the results from here as well.
Now, you can export to a note, you can export to docx, you can clear everything. And you can also, you know what, I just want to keep track of these characters. I can do each section, export that to a note. And as I close this, one of my notes will pop right up here. And you can kind of see, it looks like it's some other notes here, but it'll pop into a note right there. Or, let me close this. Story Analyzer. If I want to come up here and export everything to a docx, it might take a second. It's a big file. And story.
Yeah. All right. Here's a question while you're doing that. How early in the process can you use Story Analyzer? That's a good question, right? Because technically speaking, you could have just your first chapter written, and then you can run the Story Analyzer on just that first chapter, right? And then you could see, oh, this is what I've written, that this is the foreshadowing I've done. These are the conflicts I've done. And that could maybe set you up for success with the second chapter. I could see somebody using it that. I could see somebody waiting until they have a whole first rough draft done, and then they use it to start the developmental edit. It's really up to you. And then the other question we've gotten a few times is short stories, right? Because we keep talking about chapters. The reason why we have it split up into chapters is because we're trying to make sure the software can analyze correctly. So we can't give it the 70,000 words all at once. Not to mention, we want to organize it for you. Most people do organize their books in chapters after all, right? And so then that helps you piecemeal your book. So it's not just, you know, we wouldn't want to just give you the analysis of everything in one chunk. It's good to have the chunks as you go, right? So for short story authors, what you can do is simply put in some parts to your short story. What's ultimately the limit of the word count for a specific analyzing that you can do?
10,000 words in a chapter. So if you have, let's say
Okay.
you have a short story that's what, 5,000 words, all you have to do is
Then you're
just
fine.
come up, just label your first. In AutoCrit, it's real simple to give yourself a chapter. Let's say I want to call this my chapter. You can just go ahead and type in a dummy chapter here and save it. Right now I have that is chapter 1, so you can just put in chapter 1 or whatever. So I have in the higher is 2,000 words, or you can just get rid of them as well. Just that simple. So it's super easy to add a chapter. It's really not hard. Like you can just highlight it or hit the little plus button or type in chapter 1, put a plus in, give yourself a starting point, maybe the beginning or the end or something. I don't care. Just give the system a boundary for where you're starting and stopping. So if you have a short story, less than 10,000 words, great. Just put one start in there, and then you can go ahead and use the Story Analyzer. If you have a novella, whatever, you can do 4, 5, 6 chapters. I'm not sure how long you write. Everybody's got their own unique methods there with
Yep.
how many. But
Yeah,
we do,
and you can label it whatever you want, right? It's just labeled chapter 1,
exactly.
chapter 2 for this example. If you had names of your chapters, it would work. If you just called it part
Roman
1, if
numerals.
you just said 1, however,
You
it's
can do
just a
whatever.
way to separate it out for the analyzer to function.
Yeah, and also it's good for you because when you go in here, right, you can use it as a navigation tool if you want to jump from one spot to the next. It's a bookmark-esque element to your text. So, and like I said, you can always just delete it. You're not married to these things with regard to needing to use them, but it's really a helpful tool, and especially like we're talking with longer works. It's really beneficial for the system to be able to segment and keep track of your stuff. So, yeah.
Yep. There is a question that's a little bit not as related, but you have isolated chapters and you're wondering about the pacing of where these are in your book. If you're talking about the pacing of individual chapters, that's something you can do in the reports. You can run
Yeah,
reports
sure.
based on chapters, and then you can see, oh, is this chapter different pace than another chapter or things like that. And you might realize, wait a minute, when I switch to this point of view, all of a sudden my pacing completely switches, right? That's
Yes.
not going to be in the story analyzer because that's a line level sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
So clearly, yeah, this is not a very slow paced, but that's great. You know, so there we go.
Yeah, so anyway, we like you mentioned, the story analyzer lives here under our summary section, but we also have the pacing section, the dialogue, adverbs. We have a whole number, like 20 plus, 25 plus reports that we run. I want to go with each one of them, but yes, once you get everything in chapters like this, I've clipped down here, and I told the system I want to analyze everything by chapter, and then over here on the right, now it breaks all my pacing out by chapter, so I can see how many slow-paced paragraphs I have in each chapter.
Yeah. And you can move chapters around as well. That's
Exactly.
a
So
newer
let's.
feature we've added. So if you decide, hey, this
Mhm.
chapter would not, work as well here as somewhere else, and you just want to move it really easily, you can do so. And then figure out which one's which because it'll keep the chapter name. And you'll
Mhm.
know which ones you've moved to which location and all of that in case
Yes.
you're and to that end, you might decide, oh, it's better to name them as scenes or things like that. You could have them be much shorter. It's really up to you how you utilize it. We call it chapter because that's going to be the standard use, but there's a lot of other different ways that you could use it. It's really up to you as the author.
And what is this, the famous thing there, Daniel? Like with great power comes great responsibility. When you move chapters around, there's great power in that, but it will move your text. So be super careful when you move a chapter. It does move the bucket of text with it. So yeah, if you go and just play
Yeah.
around with this, you could really cause a mess. But no
There's
worries.
always asking, could you could treat your scene breaks as chapters again? It's kind of up to you, right? In terms of the story analyzer, you can go up to 10,000 words. If you want it to piecemeal out and look at narrower sections, you can signal the writer's desk to do that, right? And so you can put those different headers so it does that. It's all up to you.
Yes, and as
Yes,
I always like to
Robert Louis
say,
Stevenson might be spinning his grave a little bit, moving around those chapters. It's okay though. I think he'll forgive us.
no, if
We'll
you
hope
do
so
move
anyway.
something around, you're like, oh
It's like, what
no,
are you doing,
I
treasure
didn't want to do
island?
that. Go to save and versions, and don't worry, you can go back to a certain point in time. I can go back to November 9th or whatever. So it is okay. It's a big undo button, which is another thing of beauty, always with electronics. I didn't like what I just did, or I hit delete by accident. Whatever. We do have, auto saving and versioning at hand. Anyway, let's jump back now to the story analyzer. So
Yes.
we've gone through the point where we've looked at all the chapters, right? And I think
Yes.
we can all see the benefit of, okay, tell me what I have
Yeah.
or what's missing, what I don't see. Now we're going to go ahead and use that analysis, and we're going to, let me clear this out. Looks like I ran this in testing. Um, I want the system to say, okay, given all that information that you have now, what is the premise of my story? What is it about? Not just the chapter, but everything. And so it'll spit out here the premise, is that. So
Mhm.
this is kind of like
Yep.
your
And this is
three.
helpful just for you to understand, ultimately what a reader would think your story is about, right? And again, it might be if it gives you a very strange result and you're like, well, wait a minute, you might realize you've overemphasized something and it's like
Yes.
not at all what you expected, right? And it
Yes.
also could help you. A lot of us don't particularly like the writing all that marketing copy and blurbs, and this gives you a starting point just to summarize those thoughts, right? to really get at brass tacks of what is going on under the hood in a simple way. So it can be highly helpful for that as well.
Yes. And it'll also take a look here to the conflict through lines, the conflict between the crew and Long John Silver, internal conflict within Jim Hawkins. He has a lot of greed and money and friendship type conflicts internal to his mind about what he thinks is right and wrong. So things like this, overall story arcs. It'll provide what the system felt that story arcs were based on the text that's provided. So all the stuff that can be super helpful to you in understanding what you have and doing analysis, what it is.
Now, somebody asked earlier, you can scroll up in a second because they wonder if I could find plot holes, character development, or inconsistencies. Scroll down just a bit. If you look here, no, a little bit higher, Kevin.
No, sorry.
All right, stop. Okay. Because it says unanswered questions are, who took the treasure? Well, they happen to have found. What will happen with Long John Silver's, right? There's some questions that the book remains that leaves unanswered, right? And that was the intention of the book. It has some ambiguity, and that could be a great thing for the audience, right? Because it lets them imagine the world. I talk about this in my courses and things like that. But maybe you didn't intend to do that. Maybe you literally forgot to write a scene, right? Or maybe you are like, oh, well, I left some major mystery unanswered, right? It's our hope as we continue to develop this, it'll be able to do more and more of that. And it does it'll give you some of those unanswered questions, and it's a great early look. It's the same thing you'd get from a reader who's like, well, wait a minute, what happened to this? What happened to the balloon? I don't know what happened to the balloon. Yes, the story analysis is across all chapters, right? You can see there in the purple where we're in story analysis. Once we move to that, we're away from chapter analysis. So it will work off of what you have in your chapter analysis. So if you don't like some of the things that it comes up in the chapter analysis, you can go ahead and adjust it as well. You can tinker with that text and type your own, and then you can look at the story analysis as well.
Okay, so very similar along those same lines. We have plot thread tracking through the chapters. There we go. And theme. I always like to look at theme. I don't know.
This is something that authors really struggle with too. You can end up at the end of your first draft and be like, I don't even know what the story's about. Like, what is it really about, right?
Yeah. Is it about loyalty? Is it about lure or treasures? Which ones are these prominent themes? Are they hidden? Are they subtle? Those are the kind of things that I think are very helpful when you're looking back at what you're doing. And then I think some of the stuff too, we especially looking at some of the old classics. Well, these are the classics for a reason. These are pretty polished works. They've had very strong themes and thematics. There's a reason why a lot of them are still read today, because they kind of teach a moral lesson to a certain extent, if you read them in school or whatnot. But there's a reason why we still read them, because they're very powerful. So, but if you take a step back and think like, what kind of theme is there in your own story? Like, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to convey? And this is what it's really helping you find. And
it even gives some suggestions there. Like it says, if you want to make things more prominent, explore the moral complexity surrounding loyalty and betrayal and things like that. Obviously, that's present, but it's telling you, if you want to lean into this theme more, then you could decide if you want to do that or not. Here's some suggestions for that.
Okay, and here are a few chapters that conflict with the overall genre, right? So the genre is adventure fiction in this case, which is true. But then it tells you, okay, where did I kind of stray from that? This one, chapter 4, it slipped into a lot of mystery, which is true. If you read the book, it's like, what's going on in the captain's chest? Remember that he was carrying around. Like, are we going to find who the one-legged man is? All this kind of. There's a lot of mysterious things, which is by design. But you see that there's only a sparse number of chapters that don't fit the exact same genre, so it's perfectly fine, not a problem. But this is supposed to make you think: is this what I intended? Is this purposeful, or is this, oh shoot, I got 8 chapters in a row that did something I didn't want it to do, or things like that. So we're always trying to find patterns with AutoCrit. If you're familiar with what we do, we're always looking for ways for you to understand the ebbs and flows of the writing craft. Where you're at, where are you leading your reader through, what kind of maze you're building. and we're trying to give you the tools to do that, and hopefully a quick and fun way to do it as well, and not so arduous as perhaps it could be if you're trying to do all this stuff completely on your own and by hand with no outside help. So there you have it. Clearly, AutoCrit does a lot more than this. Like I said, this was totally to focus on this new story analyzer and how it could help you. And I hope that as an author out there, you can see the benefit of it in your own writing. So any questions on this one, Danny? Where do you want to run from here now?
Yes, I was looking at some of the comments here. Somebody said, this was their favorite feature that they've ever seen. And of course, we always like to hear that, right? Every time we had a feature, we always want it to be everybody's favorite feature. Yeah, it seems like a game changer. It really is, right? And that really speaks to everything we do here at AutoCrit, right? We love the idea of changing the game for you, because what that means is writing has become uh, more enjoyable. I don't even want to say easier, because that's not even
No.
deep enough, right? When you have the ability to go ahead and get this automatic feedback, right, and hone in on what you're doing and improve on it, like the fulfillment you can get as an author, it's not a matter of necessarily being easier or faster, which of course it can be all those things, but it can also be, the quality of your work is going to improve. Your personal feelings about it, your own self-confidence, because here you have, this neutral party that is looking at it and being that alpha reader for you. And, it just goes into what we do in general. So I know some of you, this might be, some of you are our lifetime members and you've been around for a while, and I'm so happy to have you on board. And, they experience new features like this. And as a lifetime member, well, guess what? You get this new feature, right? It is part of it is part of your membership. That is what we do around here. And we have a deal. I'm going to go ahead and throw it in the chat as well, because with all of this development that we have going on, I can tell you that we are going to be adjusting things around here. And yes, one of the things that we will be adjusting over time is going to be the price of membership. But before we do that, we wanted to go ahead, throw out this story analyzer, let you all see it, experience it. And before, the end of the Thanksgiving Black Friday season, we wanted to do one last offer for a lifetime. This will be access to our membership, which really includes so much more than just the story analyzer. And in order to talk about that, I'm going to bring on Jocelyn. Hi, Jocelyn. How are you? And I'd like to say, like the brains behind the outfit, the heart behind the outfit, um, she can really speak to just the overall vision of AutoCrit and where we're going. So, Jocelyn, what is AutoCrit? Why should they join us?
Oh, you asked such a simple question, Daniel, of what is AutoCrit, and it's top of the game. I love it. Thank you, Paige. I get so excited. And before I answer that question, I just have to I really have to take a moment and thank all of you who have been our members and the potential members that are sitting out there, because this is such an exciting time to be a writer. I can't explain that. I get like goosebumps when I look at the comments that are coming in, when I see the features that are coming, because there are so many stories that need to be told, and we are here to help you. And that's the simplest way I can answer that question of what is AutoCrit. It's a community, it's a tool set, it's a feeling, right? To be part of this group that celebrates the stories that get out into the world. And our mission, and we are a small team. We hope that we're small and mighty, but we want to, strive to be innovative. We strive to be connected with you. We strive to understand what you are doing and what you need to improve your craft, right? How do you tell stories that get your readers as excited as I am about the tool that we are presenting here today, right? To write a book that they just can't put down. and that's hard. This is hard work, and it can be grueling at times. You don't know what, there could be so much advice and so much craziness out there that, how do you break it down? And that's really one of the key things that we really focus here at AutoCrit is, making it fun, right? Like, how do I make this process of planning, writing, editing, getting your book ready to publish fun? How do I be more effective with it? As far as my time, right? Everybody's time is super critical, and I want to, if I'm staring at the average book of 80,000 words, where do I start? Right? Like, where do I start? And it's crazy. I mean, even if you look at AutoCrit, it's kind of crazy. And so we have architected the tool, hopefully, so that no matter what, where you are in that process, you have a guide, right? And that's why I'm like thrilled about the story analyzer, because this has been, and the Inspiration Studio, which I'll just give a little taste for those of you who haven't played with that either, that we're entering into areas that haven't traditionally been our number one focus, right? So AutoCrit's been around for a long time. We're 10 plus years now. We've been doing this. We've done so much research. We've talked to authors, we've talked to readers, we've talked to publishers, we've talked to self-publishers, traditional publishers, editors. We know this industry inside and out. And our focus really up till now has been on that kind of perfecting phase. But with Inspiration Studio and Analyzer, we can now get into that developmental editing phase. I'm stuck in writer's block, and you should have no excuse onto why I can't continue writing. The accountability tools that we have now that will keep you motivated, something as simple as it turns green when I hit my daily word count.
It's the little things that us writers love.
If I keep the pace going,
it's a little pat on the back,
if you're using the pace tracking, right? If I've set my pace goal and I can keep the little emoji smiling, right? So something as simple as that, all the way to, did I make sure that I don't have the plot holes that I thought, and that you're not going to repeat each word over and over again. So I'm sorry, I get on my soapbox. You guys know that have been around for a while, but I'm really jazzed and excited, and really, to go back to your question, Daniel, is that AutoCrit really started as an editing tool, right? We have evolved tremendously, and I'll even just take the last 12 and a half months, more specifically, when we rebuilt the system from the ground up to hit all those stages, from idea to planning to writing to not getting stuck to analyzing to perfecting that book, so that when you pull it all together and hand it over to someone to actually put real eyes on it, that you feel that confidence, that you are proud of what you're handing over, and can wait for their reaction, because they're going to love it, because you're writing great books, right? That is our mission. This is only the beginning. We have lots of things. I think we're going to jump into a couple of other things. We have more planned, which is exciting. And also, one of the reasons that we do know that things are rolling fast. So get on the train, come join us if you aren't already a member. If you are, and maybe you haven't been as involved, now's the time to get back involved, because I really don't think there could be a better time to be a writer, be an author, and get your stories to the world. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. It was interesting, though, just to segue, we're going to segue back, and Kevin's going to show us around a little bit more. But one point that I wanted to look at, and now I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Can the analyzer be used by professional editors? Yes, of course, right? We know that not everybody uses AutoCrit are writers. We have people who are editors, and they use it, because just like it's great for line editing for a writer, Well, it's helpful for line editing for editors too, right? It's the same thing, right? One or the other. So yeah, maybe that's you. Maybe you're somebody who likes to beta read a lot of things, and this could help you come up with better summaries for people and things like that. Sure, absolutely. However the tools are useful is how we want them used, right? You get to be in the driver's seat. But I thought, Kevin, you wanted to show us around some other fun tools that we have at our disposal,
Sure.
right?
I'll share my
What's
screen
going on
here.
over here under the hood? I'll go ahead and throw that link back in the chat as well. And again, check it out. Great lifetime offer going on for Black Friday. All right.
All right. So in the same vein, we looked at the story analyzer, which personal fave already for me. But let's say you're on the other side of the equation. You don't have anything written yet, or you're planning, or you're thinking about a book, or you need to start your next project. So that's where we have the Inspiration Studio over here. So we'll kind of stay in the same vein, but let's pretend like I don't have any text. I want some help kind of filling out my outline. So we'll jump over to Inspiration Studio. We'll start a story builder. And let me go ahead and clear this guy out. It looks like I was playing earlier.
I do love how it's an amazing idea. You've declared it.
Did I just delete my amazing
always
idea?
An amazing idea.
So here, what we can do here is you can write this in yourself. And that's one thing we love about AutoCrit. You're working with our system. You're not being told what to do by the system. This is a partner. This is not somebody like a boss or somebody that's cracking a whip at you. No, this is a friend. This is your virtual friend here at AutoCrit that's helping you write this stuff. This is my amazing story about a goldfish swimming around the world. Right? I don't know. I want to write a goldfish story. So I click on general geography. It's looking at what I told the premise is, and now it's going to say.
It's giving you an apocalyptic idea. I like it.
I don't know if I
it's
like
going,
it.
It's going a little dark. Why
dark.
is this goldfish swimming around the world? It's because it's the post-apocalyptic world.
So based on what I've written here, and you don't change it. A goldfish named, Tommy. Don't forget my capitalization. I can't be too lax here, right? You can go through and create everything on the opposite side of what we did on the story analyzer. We're now doing it on this side. And let's close this out here.
Oh, see, that's why it's coming up with
That's why I kept coming up with apocalyptic stuff.
You have some post-apocalyptic things down there. See, the way it works is, this is actually a great demonstration of how this works. When you have different things in these buckets, it looks at everything on the page every time it generates a new idea, right?
Yes.
And so you can start with a story premise, or in this case, you actually had some characters in there that were talking about being post-apocalyptic, and so I was giving you that. So now that you have that cleared out, if you go back and you go to the general geography, let's see what happens.
Tommy
there we go. Now
it's a happier tune.
Just Tommy the goldfish and not alone. So it's great how you can mix and match, and that's something to keep in mind as you use it, right? When you update something, you're going to want to update the different things because it's using the whole library of all of those ideas together for the next idea, which is great because that means it's a contextual idea. It isn't just something pulled out of random thin air. It is based on the way you've built it up to that point.
Yes. And so you can go and build out your characters. Clearly, Tommy the goldfish is going to be my protagonist. But maybe I know that Sid the shark is always trying to eat Tommy, right? So I know certain things. Clearly, you can build this out as much as you want. I'm not going to write a full bio here, but then you can type in them, create them yourself, or have the system give you ideas. I like this part, so let's get rid of that. I want to use this. I want to add to it, and the more you add to it, the more the system understands what it is you're trying to build. So this is a outlining tool with a partner. You're talking back and forth to the system, and you're building out your characters. You're building out, in this case, we're going to do some beats here too. What's my opening image? Maybe I know what my opening image is. Maybe I don't know how to finish my story. Maybe I can go down here and take a look at my closing image, right? What could that be? And every element that you give it it learns from. So right now I don't have a final battle finale, but I could put that in there, and it would, then I can rerun the closing image and it would update. So you're working back and forth with the system, helping you stay organized, helping you outline. This is like a pantser's dream, I think. Like, I don't want to take the time to do it by myself and run a piece of sticky notes or however you want to do it, note cards, right? This is all fun, easy, just clicking a button, typing in what you think, what you don't, and you're building out the backbone, the skeleton of your story here, just out of thin air. And it's super fun and gives you ideas. I mean, I can't imagine a better like a story prompt builder than something like this, because you literally is telling you different ideas to go with. It's not writing for you. It's not going to write the story for you, but it's giving you some helping you architect the skeleton of a story that has certain elements that are essential to a good story, an opening image of a theme.
Yep. And you can change the beat sheet, right? We have a few different
Sure.
ones. So if you wanted to make it, let's say, like a mystery, right? And if we went down to the mystery revealed plot, well, we'll see the setup, but let's go down to mystery revealed. All of a sudden now it's going to incorporate some sort of mysterious element, right?
Yes.
Yes. So there was a delicate seashell adorned with intricate carvings. As news of this mysterious shell spread, right? So it not only gave you a mystery, but it gave you a mystery that did tie into what you did, right? It would have been very easy for just to get like, and a dead body shows up, right? But it really does try its best to give you a result based on everything surrounding it, all the different clues inside of it as well. And you can go back and forth. You could say, well, maybe that's the subplot, and then you could go back to the plot centered, and that's still going to be there. You can add a romance if you want. Yeah, go ahead. Throw in a romance. I'm curious.
Sure. So let's say I want to copy. You can just copy this to the clipboard. So I like this mystery part, so I want to copy that, and I want to go back to romance, right? And let's say
let's do like the meet cute. I'm curious.
Pop that in there, and you can put this here. But you can move stuff around, like Daniel said. You don't have to.
A fiercely independent and adventurous swordfish. Look at that. Tommy's finding love.
A goldfish and a swordfish. Wow, that's a all right. But if you don't, and the whole beauty of it is, you know what? I want a new thought. Like, okay, I didn't look right. Let's try it again. There's no end to the number of different ideas you can come from this. And as you can see, you can move it around. You can copy those to your notes and use your notes. So once you have this all built, right? In fact, you can, you could export it all to a note. You can change it. You can start again. You can do as many of these story builders as you want. You can just save them as little files. And just like with the analyzer, they're attached to this file, but you can also detach them and just have them live out in the world inside of AutoCrit as well. But the cool thing is you come back here, inspiration, story builder, and there you go. You always have your outline at your fingertips, or your characters at your fingertips as you're typing. In addition to, as always, with our notes, you can also drop them over to your notes, and you can have them on the side here, or open up your note board. You have, move these around. You can put your characters and all sorts of stuff. AutoCrit, we hear this all the time. Like, I didn't know AutoCrit could do that. I didn't know AutoCrit could do that. And the crazy thing is, we keep doing more with regard to making things even more exciting and interesting and easy to do. This is like, I always think is that, if you have a tough time keeping your thoughts in one spot, everything's in one spot here at AutoCrit, right? You can have your story analysis, you can have your note cards, you have your everything. All your text, all your chapters are all in one spot, so you're not trying to bring things. You can obviously split them out if you want to, but for our beauty of AutoCrit is we're trying to give everything in one simple, easy, user-friendly location, so you can work. And the whole idea is for you to produce more, to write more, to have more fun doing it. As Jocelyn mentioned, it's the whole goal here is not to take the creative control out of your hands, but to give you more creative control, let you do more, have more enjoyment and excitement for it. So it's not such a drudgery going through all these tasks and just trying to stay organized. Like, oh, where did this person go? What's that last character's name? Like, I don't know where I saved this file. All this kind of stuff. We're trying to help you in the background without being too forceful either and forcing you to do things. Trying to make it feel a natural experience to work with a partner. So let me go ahead and shut off some of this stuff up here. Jocelyn was mentioning you can keep track of how many word counts. I know it's NaNoWriMo month, and that many of you are focused on your word counts as well. So
yeah,
it's a whole,
great. And you can put in
accountability section here.
Yep.
where you
Yeah.
can keep track of what you've added. In our case, what's deleted, I always love this. How many words did I delete today? Sometimes that's more important than how many words you wrote, especially when you're at a different phase you're in. So you can track whatever you want. All right. Any other questions floating around out there, Daniel?
I don't think so. Somebody was mentioning the genres. In that drop down, we have a few. Think of them more as plot types than genre types, like mystery, romance, and stuff. If you write another genre, what I would recommend is looking at that overall arc. So, like, we have a plot centered, romance, a mystery, a horror. But keep in mind, just because it's romance doesn't mean it's just romance, right? It could be a historical story with a romantic element. In which case, what you would do is you would set it up in the world building, you'd set it up in the premise. Maybe it's like, for example, think of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That's kind of a mystery plot, but it lives in a fantasy world. So you would, at the beginning of the story or at the beginning of the premise, specify that it's a fantasy world. All right. Are there tutorials? Are there tutorials for this new feature? Yes, in fact, there are. There are tutorials for this new feature. We are always giving lessons, and we have a whole academy page. The academy page is even something where we have a thing called the fast track to a flawless draft, and it goes through a lot of how you can use the writer's desk for that story development, for line editing, and things like that. And every report has full instructions of why that report even is there, because you might be like, why do I even need this report, right? And you can hit the little question mark in the top, and it'll give you an instruction of what it's for, what kind of writing principles are the rules behind it, and so on and so forth. How long do you have before the lifetime offer expires? Not long. It is, like I said, going up soon. So do not delay. We have some great things coming your way, but it does adjust the value, honestly, of what we do here at AutoCrit, and we do need to take that into consideration. And of course, it will also allow us to do even more. We had some suggestions coming in the chat, and we love that. Keep those coming, right? Keep those suggestions coming, because sometimes people will be like, I don't think you can do this, and we're like, well, I don't know. Let's look into it, right? Just a little while ago, something like the story analyzer would have been completely ridiculous as an idea, right? Technology keeps evolving, and we try to stay with it so that we can provide the tools for you. And people were talking about other large language models and things like that out there, and that's true. There are others, but the thing about the writer's desk is it's everything all in one spot. You can track everything very easily. You can dump it into note cards and have it on your side. You can piecemeal out all of these different processes. It's really a whole nother game, for sure. Where can you submit suggestions? Well, right here is one place, but we often have member events. We haven't even touched on that. As part of being a lifetime member, you have access to all our member events. Currently, we have a mystery club, a horror club, and a fantasy club every week. And a fantasy/sci-fi club, every week, and an accountability club. You can always join those and give suggestions. That's also a way for you to interact with me, with some of the other instructors here, like Gareth is usually the one doing the horror club. And ask us questions. We do little mini lectures. We do a fun thing where I read bad books on Amazon, which is a lot of fun. We just did that last night. So, all different kinds of activities, and a full-fledged community, right, where you can share your ideas with each other. And it is a locked community. It is a community only for our members. So it does keep it from being barraged with all kinds of, different content. It is a great working space to have conversations. All right. I'm just going to catch up here on any of these other comments. Yes, we had a few comments about tutorials. We certainly We certainly have them. We also will have a lot of detailed demo sessions, kind of similar to what we had here, but we're going to go into greater detail and open ourselves up over the next week because we're going to have a lot of new members and things like that. So, stay tuned for all of that. You can always check out what's going on autocrit.com on our home page on the hub or our main page. We have a calendar section, and that lists everything we have going on as well. Is this new feature part of the lifetime membership? Yes. It is our goal in life as we add features to continue to make them available for lifetime members. We do not want to be in the business of adding on fantastic features and then you have to, upgrade or something like that. We really do try to grandfather everybody in as much as we can, and we have up to this point, and we continue to hope to do so in the future. So yes, get on board because more things are coming and you'll be a part of that. It's going to be great times. I mean, you all know it, right? Technology is moving fast. And so, we'll continue to stay with it and utilize it to the best of our ability there. The support is great. We do try. We do have a small team, but we do really try to keep up with everything around the community and whatnot. One of the things you love is lifetime is lifetime. It is. Lifetime is lifetime. How can you tell which membership level you are at? We really only have two. We either have free or what we call pro, which is a paid membership. Now, you can technically have pro at different levels, like monthly or annual or lifetime. Lifetime is it pays for itself in a year in comparison to what monthly would be. But it doesn't matter if you're lifetime or monthly or annual in terms of everything we were just talking about, right? You have access to all those things. If you want, you can always come in as a free member and look around. You're not going to have access to everything that we showed you today. You'll have access to a couple of the reports. But yeah, you can always do that if if you want to take a look around a little bit yourself. Sure, you can go ahead. And there are some free forever options within the writer's desk as well. Yep.
So Daniel, I don't want to break in on this. You can
Dun, dun,
jump over
dun.
here. Dun, dun, dun. Let me pop over here. I was just saying, I think yes, you can. So if you click on your little face here when you log into AutoCrit and you click on membership, it will tell you what you are in the system. Currently, this user I am right now a pro monthly membership. So you will see in your account with your lifetime, monthly, annual, free, whatever, it should show you right there. And by all means, if you have any questions,
when is this will be ready? Everything that we showed you today is live. I know we mentioned the word beta, but we like to offer our sandbox up to everybody, right? So even though it's beta, and even though we are continuing to make adjustments on the story analyzer because it is brand new, fresh out of the box, has the new car smell, all of that, right? Even though it has all of that, you can go in right now and tinker with it. But
sure.
If there's something about it that you're like, this could be better, go ahead and let us know because it is new and we're always looking to improve things as well.
Yeah, things are moving so fast and improving.
They
so
really
quickly.
are. I feel like I have to be on like Red Bull all the time.
Yeah,
and I'm like an
normally in
energetic
the past,
person too.
in the past, you might have said, let's wait a month or two and we'll really iron everything out so it's perfect. But things are, this is so amazing. Even if it has a little bit of hair on it, it's like, it's so much better than nothing. That we need to get it out there. We need to let you experience it, and that's the only way, honestly, on our side that we're going to get better too, is by using these tools and by putting it out there in the wild. Because especially with writing, there's a lot of different ways to come about this from a lot of different angles. So people would do things like, I never thought somebody would do that, so we come up with ideas. We become better ourselves by having feedback from you all. And working with you. So we're super excited. Sometimes I'm like, why'd you let that out? It's not perfect. Well, this is an art form. Nothing's ever going to be perfect on our end either. But we're doing our best to keep it.
Why would we want it perfect? Then we would have nothing to do, right? Improvement's always good. It's always
exactly.
Good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and throw that link back in the chat. Don't want you to miss on the deal. Tonight, for those of you who are AutoCrit Pro members, or you can become one in the next couple minutes or whatever, we have live feedback in the fantasy club. So, if you want to get some live feedback from me, and if you're new to all of this, if you haven't seen me before, go back to the archives. You can watch me a little bit. It's lots of fun. But you can also join us tonight, and I will be giving live feedback for anybody who shows up. So yeah, you can just jump right into the community. Tomorrow, we're going to have our horror club with Gareth, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. And so we have events like right out of the gate. And as we said, there's going to be a lot more events next week. We're going to have some AutoCrit demos for all of you who are new. We're going to have an accountability club and a mystery club on Monday as well. And for all of everybody else out there, feel free to like and subscribe and hit the bell for this channel, because we're doing, we have all kinds of events and live streams and challenges coming up. So if you like writing challenges, I know some of you are like, when's the next challenge? It's coming soon, everybody. Okay, don't worry. And there are benefits to being a member in our challenges as well. And so, yeah, all kinds of wonderful things coming your way in AutoCrit. And to be honest, I kind of spoiling it, but that's what we're going to talk about next week. Next week, we're going to talk about 2024 and how AutoCrit is going to make 2024 your best writing year yet. And I'm so excited about that. We do have some announcements of some exciting new offerings coming your way in the AutoCrit world and things like that. Daniel is a tease as always. Of course, it's my job. Kevin can tell you, it's like, the first on my little thing. It's like ultimate tease right there. So anyway, yeah, so with that tease, I will let everybody go. I'm so happy to have all of you here as part of the community. You're a wonderful group of people. Shout out again to Wendy for getting the agent recognition. That's amazing. More stories like that, please. Share the stories, become a member, and 2024 is going to be amazing. All right, well, thank you, everybody. You have a wonderful week.